Embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all. Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of our Daily Magic Podcast. And I'm excited today because we get to create some more magic. So let us know in the comments how you're doing today. But this is going to be a magical conversation. And obviously, we are appreciative of you who are here live, because this conversation wouldn't be as magical as it would be if you guys weren't here. So have your comments, have your questions. This is going to be an engaging conversation. I'm excited. There's going to be some magic unleashed, and our intention with this conversation is hopefully you can be able to find at least one thing, but I'm sure you're going to find a lot of things from this magical being that we're going to have a conversation with, to incorporate a little bit more of magic into your life and to bring more of your magic out as well, because we're here to create some magic. I am one half of the host, Dell, and
I'm Kai, and I have the honor and pleasure to introduce our guest, Dr. Varun Gandhi. He is a life orchestrator, soulpreneur, angel investor, inventor, philanthropist, and a water doctor. He enjoys orchestrating businesses, events, and ideas about the self-image. He is currently focused on creating a digital course called What's Your Story, which allows you to create your life film, a chart consisting of your memories, experiences, and defining moments that have left an impression. Each of these moments has a lesson to be learned for you. Your My Life film also allows you to create new meaning to your past experiences, create a new future you, and write affirmations that help maintain the new you. You can find him at drvarungandhi.com. Hello.
Hello,
Welcome.
Gandhi. Hello, Dell. Love and abundance.
Yes.
Love and abundance. There we go.
I like it.
Oh, that's cool.
I like it. My hands are disappearing.
There you go. That's the in sign language. In sign language, that's the love.
Yeah.
It says "I love you." Sign language. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great. Amazing.
Yeah.
Excited for this conversation.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm excited too.
And there's so many different places that we can go with this conversation. And obviously what Kai gave is who you are right now, the stuff that you do. So I'm curious, what happened in your journey for you to create your own story and your own script that you have now?
Yeah, my journey has been very interesting. I was born and brought up in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. I lived there for 15 years. And by the way, I love, Dell, that you're drinking water. I'll go into the water doctor as well.
Yeah. I'm about to say, I saw one of your recent interviews. So yeah. Yeah, it's thumbs up, yeah.
And Kai, by the way, so we just had a baby boy, and one of the names we were considering was Kai, Kii, and we love that name, so I really appreciate it. Yeah,
Awesome.
I love that name. So my story, born and brought up in Dubai, moved here when I was 15. When I first moved here, it was a very difficult time for me because this was a couple of months before 9/11. I was in a place in Dubai where, in our school, you go to one school from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. It was in one campus, so I was very familiar with it. I knew all the teachers. I knew everyone there because I'd been there for 12 years, kindergarten all the way through 10th grade. So moving from there, coming here in 11th grade, the middle of high school, you know how American high schools are. People already formed their cliques. So trying to fit in because I had this thick Indian accent. I looked very different, not Americanized just yet. And so in that sense, I was like the oddball out. And it took me a couple months to get used to it. But the first couple months were extremely hard. I remember waking up, not wanting to go to school. I'd cry to my mom like, hey, I don't want to go today. And my mom every morning she'd say, you know what, just go for one more day. It's okay. Just go today. It'll be better. And she just gave me that hope and just that little push, like, all right, it's gonna be okay. And it was. At the end of it, I made some friends. Things started to get better from there. I had some lunch buddies, two other people that were kind of oddball out who had just recently joined the school as well. One was American and the other one was Chinese, who had just moved from China, so she had a really thick accent and everything. And I remember a lot of times we'd be sitting at a lunch table, the three of us, and we wouldn't even talk. We'd just be comfortable eating our lunch with each other. And that gave me comfort, and it kept me going. Those were the little moments that kept me going. And after that, I graduated, went kind of like the typical Indian life cycle where you graduate high school, get a degree, get an advanced degree, find a good, stable job, get married, and have kids. That was kind of like the track I was on. And I made it all the way through an advanced degree. I have a PhD in environmental engineering. And so specifically, I was focused on water, kind of the water that comes in our house, the one that we drink, right? So I was focused on one aspect of the cleaning of the disinfection of that water. And that was my PhD. So initially started out as a very external kind of experience of being a water doctor. And over the years, that's transformed to more of drink water because that can cure a lot of diseases, just drinking water. I read this book called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And essentially it says that 50% of the diseases that exist currently, like the pains, the migraines, the ulcers, all of those are caused because of dehydration. And just by drinking enough water, you can cure yourself of all of these little things that kind of stop us from being 100% full superhuman potential. Anyways, I digress. So back to the story. I graduated with a PhD, and I went into I was in Atlanta this whole time, and I moved to Idaho, Boise, Idaho, for my job. So I was working for a couple of years out there, and that's when, like about a year and a half into this job, I started feeling like a pain in my solar plexus. It started out very subtle. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd feel it. And then after 2 or 3 months of ignoring it, how we just tend to it's okay, it'll go away. So I ignored it for a while. I realized it wasn't something physical. It was something greater than that. And 3 months into it, it was like every morning I'd wake up and bam, it was right there, that pain. I could feel it. And it was a lot stronger than before when it first started. So that time I had to address it. I was like, okay, I have to do something about this. And so something within me, I was very unconscious at this point in my life. So something within me said, you know what, just sit down with the pain and ask questions. I don't know where that came from, but I just followed it. I was like, all right, let me just try that. And one of the things, the repeating themes that came, I did this multiple times just to make sure I was getting the right answer every time. And so one of the things that I got was, it was a question. It said, like, why are you going to this job that you don't really care for? You're waking up, going 8 to 5, 9 to 5, sometimes even overtime, and putting in all this time, all this effort. But you don't really, like, it's not like you feel like I felt like there was something greater out there for me. Like this wasn't it. I had also projected myself because I was looking at people in the firm who had worked for 8 years, 10 years in this job, and I saw the progression. They went from 80,000 salary to 120,000 salary within that 10 years. And I'm like, do I really want that for myself? That was one thing. But then I was also projecting myself in their specific role. And I'm like, do I really want that for myself? Do I want to be doing these things with my time and my energy 10 years down the road for 10 years of my life? That's a big chunk. And the answer was no. I felt like there was something greater out there. There's something, I didn't know what it was. I just knew that this wasn't it. So I had to move on. Now with that comes, I have to convince my parents. It's like fighting society because they have all of these expectations, or we think that they have these expectations of us. Parents kind of pushing back, saying, "Hey, you worked for 10 years to get this advanced degree, a PhD." By the way, it's like 9.5 years I was in school for that, and like you're just gonna let it go after all of this work you've put in, almost a decade of your life, from bachelor's all the way to the PhD. Are you just going to let that go? And I said, you know what? Yeah, I am. Because I have thought about it. I have pondered over this idea of, okay, maybe it's this company. Maybe I should go find a different, within the same career, but go find a different job at a different company, right? And I've seen my friends go through that. Every 2 years, they switch a job because they're not happy at the previous company, not really realizing that it's the whole career that they're not happy with, what they're doing with their time and energy. That's what they're not happy with. So I realized that early on. I was like 2 years into it. I was at this point. I said, you know what? I have to step away. I have to walk away from this career. And it took me about a month to convince myself that this is the right decision. Then about another few months to convince people around me. Finally, I did it. I said, you know what? In October, I gave in my 5-week notice. Usually people give in a 2-week notice. I'm like, I'm so excited to get out of here. I'm just going to submit a 5-week notice. And by Thanksgiving, I'm out of here. So I left Thanksgiving. Greatest decision. The moment I gave my notice in, the letter, and I felt that pain in my solar plexus just walked away. Like I didn't feel it again anymore. And it was like instant transformation. I thought, wow, this is really powerful. I'm glad I made this decision. And so now I moved back to Atlanta, which is, my family was there, friends, 10, 12 years of my life was in Atlanta. So I moved back home and I said, you know what, I'm going to find something that I'm interested in, find what that is. Because now I had this opportunity. Essentially, it was like a blank slate. Now you could, you have this blank canvas, now you paint the walls. Now you go ham and do what you got to do, right? And so this was a phase for exploration. Like, let me figure out what I'm interested in, what I'm passionate about. And so I started just working on whatever things came my way. I, just put in my effort 100% to figure out, okay, is this it? No? Okay, let me move on to the next thing. So I've tried out multiple different things. And now along the way, before I moved to Idaho, simultaneously I went through a breakup. This was a relationship of 2 years. And it was the best relationship I'd had at that point. And I thought she was the one. I had, seen myself living that American dream with the house in the suburbia with 2 kids and a dog in the backyard. Yeah. I had myself, right? That American dream. And then it shattered. Like, the whole relationship fell apart. It was mutually, both of us felt it. It wasn't working for us anymore. And I was in complete shock once it happened. This was about 4 months before I graduated from my PhD. So it was a crucial time for me. I was sitting, writing there, working on my dissertation, the 200-page book, preparing my presentation so I could present it to my faculty, my advisors. And once they sign off, then I graduated. So this was like a very crucial time, and I really had to focus on that. So one thing that, I'd wake up every morning. This was a few weeks after the breakup. I'd wake up every morning again crying because, like, I wanted that reality. I was still stuck in that reality. My body was still stuck. My mind was still stuck in that reality. And I couldn't accept my current reality that she's no longer a part of my life. Like, I'd wake up with an empty bed. I'm like, oh my God, she was next to me for almost a year of my life and she's no longer there all of a sudden. And so I felt that instantly. And so I'd wake up like not accepting this reality. But then I'd have to push myself to get out of bed because I had to work on my dissertation and actually graduate. My advisor had given me a deadline. He was like, August, you got to get out of here. and this was May. So I was like really working on it. And the one thing that helped me was comedy. And Jon Stewart was on the Daily Show at that time, and that was the 22-minute bit every morning would kind of give me the smiles and enough motivation to work through the day and finish whatever I needed to get done that day, right? And so I got through that, and then finally I moved to Idaho, and that could represent like a walking into that cave, the moment where you're going into the darkness, because in Idaho I didn't know anyone, and this was like the perfect opportunity for me to really focus on myself, dive in deeper, and understand, why am I going through all of this pain and suffering? It's been 6 months and I'm still feeling it. It's still fresh in my mind. What's going on? So this was a time to dive deeper, but instead I run away from it. I say, you know what? As most of us do, is like, it's too much pain, too much suffering. I can't bear it. So let me drown it out with all of these different distractions. And some are positive distractions, like, hey, I'm going to go out hiking in nature. Boise, Idaho is beautiful, by the way. If you guys haven't been, I would highly recommend at least taking a weekend trip out there. If you love nature, oh, it's beautiful out there. And so I would go out there hiking and doing all these things. But then there was also the negative side. I would eat a lot of fast food, drink a lot of alcohol, and drugs, like smoke weed, and not the positive kind. It's like, I want to distract myself and drown out myself from all of this pain and suffering. That's why I was doing all of this stuff. And so it took me about 1.5 years, right around the time when I felt my solar plexus. That's the same time I started realizing, okay, I'm killing myself through all of these different behaviors, eating Taco Bell 3 times a week, eating late night food when I get drunk. You know how that is. You know the story. All the audience members get that.
Taco Bell run after smoking some weed. What?
Yeah, exactly. And so that was the life. And at some point I realized, like, I'm not doing my body any good. I felt inflamed. I was 30 pounds heavier. And I was, by 2 p.m., 3 p.m. at work, I'd need another coffee hit, because I was, my energy was way too low, and it was constantly focused on that relationship, so mentally I was just drowning out. There's like all of this like mental chatter. It's kind of like, apps that are open in the background that's just sucking out battery, draining out battery. That's what it was in my mind. I was at work, but I was always thinking about her. What was she doing? And this was like 1.5 years after the relationship, after we broke off. So it was very, very exhausting. And I realized, okay, I need to put an end to all of this. Like, I don't want to feel this pain and suffering anymore. And that's when I picked up this book by Deepak Chopra called The Book of Secrets. And this is a very high level spiritual book that I picked up, and I didn't know why I picked that up. It just called me. So when I was reading through it, I was like, 95% of it I didn't understand. It went over my head. At that point I was like beginner, just 101. That's what I needed. But I picked up the advanced PhD level book, which I didn't understand. But the little bit that I picked up was meditation. He was talking a lot about meditation in that book, brought up a couple of different examples, and I thought, you know what, this is something that'll help me. This is a great tool that I could potentially, put to my benefit. And so I started meditating in different ways. When I moved back to Atlanta, that was the one kind of ritual that I created for my life, for daily magic. And it was, I started meditating. Initially, my meditation, as everyone knows, it's really, really difficult to meditate when the mind is constantly turbulent. And so my meditation ritual was very interesting. I would sit in the corner and kind of tune out the rest of the world and just focus in the corner. And that's how I started my meditation, and just said I would do 5 minutes. That's all. That's it. Initially I was going for 15, 20 minutes, and I couldn't even last for 2 minutes. So I was like, you know what? I just need to set a little goal, 5 minutes, and let me work towards that. That helped a lot. So I finally started meditating, and I discovered all these different patterns, started uncovering all these different things about myself. This was finally I had this opportunity to dive deeper into myself. Up until this point, like 28, 29, 30 years of my life, I was constantly chasing that external stimulation, that external thing. Okay, I'm going to get this degree. I'm going to get this this job, get this lifestyle, and just constantly just chasing after that. I didn't really have an opportunity to stop and sit down with myself and focus on me. So finally, I was going through this pain and suffering and picked up meditation. And now I came to this point where, okay, I'm going to slow down my life, remove all of these, the negative foods, the Taco Bell and the alcohol from my life. I'm going to remove all these negative vibrations, like slowly cutting it out, dairy and meat and everything, just kind of pushing myself away from all of it. And that's when all of the inflammation, like I literally felt my fingers were fat, like it was bloated, like, and I could feel it. And within 6 months, I saw an instant transformation. All of that went away. I lost about 20 pounds. And it was magical. Dr. Sebi was part of my journey as well. I took one of his courses, the Platinum Cleanse, which is, I think, 5 different bottles, 5 different herbs. And so I did that for 20 days, and that helped me really, really flush out all of those toxins and all of those little stuff that had been built up for 15 years of my life because I ate Taco Bell for so long. And so that the meditation was what led to my understanding of how we're constantly creating stories in our lives. That's what the digital course is about. It's really understanding that what goes on inside of our systems, how we feel and how we think, is literally what is creating our perspectives of all of these situations, all of everything that's going on in our lives is our creation. And it took me about 6-7 years of diving deeper, meditating, looking at myself to really get to this point. And then also reading a lot of material, like Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about this. A lot of other, Deepak Chopra talks about this. A lot of leaders out there. And so kind of understanding all of their material, I created this, the idea that, like I'll give you a perfect analogy for this. We're sitting in a theater watching a movie, and there's a movie going on the screen. The screen is a tool for us to be able to watch the movie. There's a projector in the back that's projecting a film, which is actually the essence of the movie. The projector is another tool. So this kind of mechanism goes on in our life as well. There's a projector right here, our third eye, that's constantly projecting images onto the screen in our lives. The screen are the different people, the different situations, all the different experience that we go through in our daily basis. Those are the different screens in our life. And we are the ones projecting all of these images based on the film that's inside of us, which is our past memories, our past experiences, and the meaning that we have created behind those past experiences and those situations in our lives. And so I thought, okay, why not let's create people's film. That's the My Life film, is why not create your own film based on your experiences? Go back into your past at age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever you remember, whatever you can uncover by having conversations with your parents, with your guardians, with people that had an influence in you at various points in your life, kind of getting an understanding of, what you went through, especially filling out, because a lot of people, we may have blocked things out of our memory, so we don't remember certain things. But the film is to really understand what happened in your past, so you can kind of have an understanding of why you are where you are currently in your life, and kind of building that picture. And once you build that picture, then we can create we can reframe our experiences that have a negative effect on us currently. We can start pushing it towards in the positive direction, reframing, creating new meaning behind those experiences. Because a lot of the times, certain experiences happen that may have been like the most amazing thing ever, but the story that we created around it is, makes it seem like it was the worst experience ever, right? And that's like a mental story that we're holding on to. So this course will allow people to reframe all of those negative experiences from the past, and then create new meaning, and then create a positive future so that they can work towards something. They're walking in one particular direction. So that's what this whole course is about. And, we've seen amazing transformation from people. And this is a lot of self-work. They're doing the work themselves. This has helped so many people really understand the patterns that are holding them back. Yeah. I mean, that's the long story, version of my life story.
Well, it's amazing, and also the tools that you have created from that. And once again, the story that you did for yourself and rewritten your story in a way of providing the service that you do. And also for everyone who's here now, put in the comments as well. Would love to know, is there any current situation you have in your life that you'd like to rewrite the script to? Put in the comments below. But you mentioned so many things that I know is going to resonate universally with a lot of people in this group, and also whoever's going to see this podcast as well with the replay, like a breakup. So I'm going to go there first because I know it's going to impact so many people there who may be dealing with a breakup, and they have a certain script or a story behind that that's affecting their life currently, moving forward from that breakup in a suffering, negative way. So for you, how are you able to shift the story and the script of that breakup in which you were going through a suffering, but now you're able to shift it in a way that's in a positive effect for you now? So what did you do for that version?
That's a great question. So yeah, at that time I was kind of just starting my meditation journey. And what I would do is kind of sit down with myself, to turn out all of the lights, and cut out all of the distractions, and just sit there on the couch, uh, smoke some weed, and slow down everything that's going on in your life, and put the focus on yourself, right? Because what I realized is that pain, and the pain was real, right? The something happened, and there was some real experience, and I felt the pain. The suffering was my creation. My mental chatter around all of that pain created all of this suffering. So when I realized that all of those thoughts that were running in my mind, all of those, like I would constantly go back to, the focus was her. What is she doing? Who is she talking to? This was months after the breakup, and I was still focused on, fuck, I still have this chance with her. I thought I had a chance with her, even a year after. Um, so I was like constantly worried about who she is talking to, who she is hanging out with. So I would go to her Facebook profile and look at what pictures she had posted, right? Even though we were not friends anymore, but I would still see some of those. I'd go to her Instagram. I would just like stalk on her, right?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and then I'd be like, oh, she went on that boat. I should have been there with her. That should have been me. And I had all of these thoughts in my mind, and it was constantly just on repeat. It was like a broken record on repeat. And I had to cut that out. That was this realizing that whatever story I created it just has to stop. Like stopping the story creation machine is, I think, the first step in many people's lives, because if we're in the negative path, we're creating all these negative stories. The idea is to cut the oxygen supply to that negative story creation machine. And once you cut that, then we can slowly start refocusing on a positive story. But it's every time so what I had to do is, every time I was playing that negative story in my mind, I had to in a way, distract myself, move my attention onto something else. Instead of focusing on all of those on that relationship, now I was focused more on work, or getting myself into positive, like community service, something like that. Going out and putting myself to good work. Because what I realized is, if I'm sitting by myself in front of the computer, or sitting by myself in my at home, I am constantly focused on those negative thoughts. But if I'm out there giving service to the world, doing something, being useful, now I'm actually focused on something positive, and my mind is not constantly on those thoughts. And so in that sense, I was breaking patterns. Again, this was kind of also unconsciously, but I was, by stopping myself from thinking like that, I was breaking all of these patterns that had been going on in my life. It didn't start with a relationship. I had all of those negative thoughts were even there before the relationship. It just showed up and manifested because of this breakup. And so I had to realize that, like, it's not just this relationship, but I had been putting myself down forever. I had been shooting myself in the foot forever. I was my biggest self-sabotager. And when I realized, like, okay, I also had a 50% role in this relationship, in the breakup, like realizing that, like, I played a role in that too. She had a role. I mean, I was constantly blaming her that she had a 90%, like, it was you that broke this relationship. But I had to come to this realization that no, I had 50% part of that relationship, and I have to take the responsibility. It's up to me, because if I don't do it now, it's going to show up again in my relationship in the future.
Woo.
It's always going to be there until we sit down, slow down, and say, you know what, let me work on this, because I need to focus on myself, dive in deeper, and that's when real transformations are going to happen.
I hope whoever's listening right now got that nugget that he just drops with relationship. You also play a role in whatever that relationship, wherever it goes to. So if a relationship ends, there's a role that you played with that as well for it going to that point. And by being able to identify that role, like you said, help you to improve yourself. So that way you're not repeating the way that you were playing a role in this relationship moving forward, but then also adding those new suffering thoughts and beliefs about yourself and relationships, and then potentially doing the stuff to avoid it as well. But yeah, relationships are a great tool to show you what's going on in here. And I love what you mentioned as well with you had these things inside of you before the relationship. The relationship didn't put these things inside of you. It was already going on and festering. And what the relationship did was it heightened it. That right there is like all the nuggets you need for the podcast. Thank you.
It brought it to the surface. Through the relationship, I had all of these, I think it was very subtly, like it was there in my mind, playing in the background before the relationship. It was all very subtle. I didn't realize consciously that I was doing this. The relationship made, like you said, it heightened it. So now I was able to become conscious of these negative, suffering thoughts that I was creating for myself. And one of the things that I remember from the relationship was I would have a lot of jealousy inside of me, right? So the last about 6 months of a relationship, we were long distance, about like 4-hour drive, so not too far. And I was, in the last year of my graduation, so I had to be on campus to kind of focus on work. So I couldn't be there with her. And so anytime she'd go and hang out with her coworkers, she worked in a mill, like an industry mill, a paper mill. And so it was a lot of male coworkers, and I would always get jealous. I would always be like, why do you have to go there? I can talk to you on the phone. I'll be there for you. She was like, no, I need people, I need to meet people in person. Like, I just moved to this new city. I need to go out there and like hang out. Otherwise, I'm not like a recluse. Like, I don't want to just be at home all the time. But every time she'd go out, I'd always throw a fit. We'd always get in a fight. And she'd be in a sour mood while she's going out and hanging out with her friends. And I had to realize that I did that. I put her in that position, right? If I had just been okay with it and had confidence in myself that no matter what, she's always going to stick with me, right? That was the insecurity that I had, that, oh, she's going to find someone better locally and she'll dump me, but this is the best relationship that I ever had. So I have to like hold on to it so tightly. So that was my thinking, that was my mentality, and all of my thoughts were created around that. So all of the jealousy would come up, and that basically led to the downfall of our relationship. And that was my hand in it. I had to realize that. Yeah.
Feel you, brother. You're not alone with that. I definitely displayed that pattern in relationships, even this one before, that insecurity and the fear. Yeah.
And I've gotten to a place where I've been happily married for about 6 years now, and we just had our first baby 3 months ago, and so it's been great, and just having that confidence, knowing that we're a team, right? That's the switch that happened for me. We're not individuals in this. We're a team. Teamwork makes the dream work, and that's how we have to be in every situation. And that was the switch, the story that changed inside of me. It's like that realization that, look, we're always going to be a unit, regardless of what happens between us. We're always going to be there for each other. We'll get into a huge fight one day, but the next day we'll be back, talking to each other and being in a loving space for each other. But we'll always like come back together, and that's what I had to realize. Like, just have that confidence in yourself that this is always going to be there.
You're getting some love.
Yeah, that's true love. Yep. It's not like a needy kind of energy anymore. Yeah, I guess
you've been taking care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah. I mean, spiritual, emotional was the one that took the longest to develop in my life. Physical kind of came very naturally, but it was that diving deeper into myself and realizing that that's the most important part. Like 98% of our life is that the spiritual, the part that we can't see. 2% of our lives is the part that we can see, right? Just living with that philosophy to work on the 98%, the spiritual aspect of ourselves. What goes on inside of us is more important than what goes on outside of us.
Got it.
Yeah.
So is that where your life film comes in, to help kind of, really curate your experience moving forward? How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's like holding a mirror up to your life. And that's what the life film is kind of charting your course in life thus far, and then understanding how each of those experiences have affected you. What role did it play? What beliefs did it create? How do you feel about it? You had this one situation, one experience when you were 8 years old, 10 years old. What happened in that situation is important as well, but also what's important is how is that situation affecting you right now? What belief did it create inside of you? What feelings, what emotions does it create inside of you? What thought patterns does it create inside of you? Because all of that is what you're currently holding on to. And if we can realize that this is what's going on, my life film helps you kind of understand, dive in deeper, because it has these different prompts, these different questions that it asks you. So you can write down the experience, but then dive deeper into each one of them to understand how it affected you and how it continually, to this very day, still affects you. Right? Because that's the important part. It's something happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but it lives on inside of us today. And that's the only place that it lives on. It's inside of us, in our memories, in our creation. And we have the power through this My Life film, but there are a lot of people out there, coaches that help you through this work as well, to understand, slow down and really understand, create a kind of like hold a mirror to yourself to paint it, to give you an idea of what's going on in your life. For me, that relationship was a mirror for me, understanding what was going on inside of me through all of the pain and suffering that happened after that relationship. If that didn't happen, I would still be in those same patterns. I would still be in that negative state in my life. I wouldn't be wearing the chakras on my head like this. I wouldn't be meditating, and that's the reality of it. At that time, while I was going through that situation, I was cursing her. I was constantly like complaining and moaning and groaning, like, why am I going through this? You did this to me, and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
But now I realize, you know what? That was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because that brought me to meditation.
You see that right there? That little perspective shift from that one experience led you to get into the space you are in now. And so many of us, I'm guilty of as well, having these experiences in which we take it on a story that keeps us in a victimhood of these moments, and this keeps this wheel churning of being a victim and blaming, it's your fault I'm this way, it's completely you. if I never met you, this would have happened, and cursing them as well. I hope you have every relationship you have after this fails, and like all this there is
all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that victimhood that kind of shackles us. It's keeping us bound. It's limiting us. It's not allowing us to live our full potential, because this victimhood is, it's a story that's created. It's not letting us move forward in life. All of this, the things that. So one of the work that I've been currently doing is being able to express myself, and before that, I was in this mindset that people don't want to hear what I have to say. People don't want to hear what I have to share. I don't have anything valuable to add. I'm not. My voice is not worthy, and that was the patterns that were kind of playing in my mind. And so I wasn't a great speaker. I wouldn't share my thoughts. In the last year or so is when I've really done the work of I've understood that these are the patterns that are going on in my life about a year and a half ago. And then since then I've started putting in more energy in that direction, getting on podcasts like yours, putting myself out there in different situations so that I'm able to express myself. One of the things that helped me is like having these affirmations, the yes you can. And this is called the Sri Yantra, which is essentially symbolizes all of your whole life. In the middle, there's a dot that represents you, and then all of the circles and the triangles, everything represents certain aspects of your life, like your qualities, your personality, your and everything. So this is basically a chart of my whole life or everyone's life. And then right across from me, in front of me, I see two other affirmations. One that says "express yourself," the other one that says "be you." These are the two affirmations that have been with me for the last about a year or so that have really pushed me in this direction of just sharing myself. Right. So the victimhood was that I don't have anything worthy to add. I don't have anything valuable to share. Always putting myself down, and finally realizing that what, it's me who is creating all of these stories. Yeah, someone may have said something to me back when, maybe my parents or whatever. They may have done something. I don't know. I don't remember that. But it's up to me. Let me take the responsibility now to take it upon myself to move in this positive direction. I realize that there's this negative thought pattern inside of me. I can't complain anymore. I can't point fingers anymore. It's up to me to make the change inside of me so that all of that change will now show up in my external life as well.
Powerful. So I have a curious question about affirmations, because like obviously there's like tons of affirmations out there. People may be affirming like I am rich and abundant, and right now they don't have money. But doing those affirmations, and also from my own personal experience, when I would do affirmations, that other voice will come up. No, you're not. That's not true. No, that's not. So like for you, with your affirmation that you started for yourself over a year ago, did those come up still? Did they come up less? Did it start to lessen the more you started to take actions, believe in these new affirmations? Like what started to happen to those limited thoughts that were showing up?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is the way I kind of did it is I had to put myself out there on these different podcasts, right? Let those limiting thoughts come up, and while I had to put myself in a space where I was hyper aware of those limiting thoughts as they're coming up, right? So I say I'm on a podcast and I'm speaking, but then there's that negative chatter will come inside of me, and or even before the podcast even begins, before the recording, like 10 minutes before, be like I'll have all this like anxiety and I'll feel it in my stomach, and and so I'll have all of this. I'll go through all the whole experience, and I had to stop myself and become hyper aware in the moment that hey, I am having this thought pattern right now. I have to stop it. I have to cut it. Because every time I cut it in the moment, I am stopping this thought pattern from occurring in my life. or like, continuing in my life. And so it's kind of like stopping the oxygen supply to it. The more I stop it, the more I can move away from it, because you want to stop yourself in the moment. And initially you may not, right? Initially you'll realize 20 minutes later that, oh, I had that thought pattern because of this thing happened, and it created all these thought patterns and negativity inside of me. And for 20 minutes, I was beating myself down. For an hour, for 2 hours, for 6 hours, I was beating myself down by those thought patterns. And then I realized that, oh, I was doing all of this. So, okay, that's fine. Next time it'll be 5 hours. After that, it'll be 3 hours. After that, it'll be 1 hour. And soon you'll get to the point where, okay, I'm in the moment. Maybe 6 months down the road, maybe a year down the road. You'll get to the point where in the moment you realize, oh my gosh, I'm going through this thought pattern right now. Let me break it. And that's the most powerful moment in your life, because now you're starting to slowly move in that direction of imprinting a new thought pattern. I am rich and abundant is starting to finally have an effect on you, because you're no longer thinking and feeling in that old thought pattern. Now you're starting to think and feel in the new one that you're creating for yourself. So it's a process. Yeah, it'll take time, but keep with it, stick with it. Have reminders around you. These are images that always are around me, so that anytime I'm in this space, I can look at it. So it's constantly like in my vision. Have those reminders for yourself. Yes, go through that 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes of chanting those affirmations to yourself and visualizing yourself being that rich and abundant. But for the remaining 24 hours, 23 hours of your life, have reminders around you that are there. It's subconsciously affecting you. You won't feel it right away, but over a year, it'll have an effect on you, especially incorporating that 20 minutes of chanting that affirmation, visualizing, and at least trying to feel that as well, right? Maybe you don't completely feel it, but at least for that 20 minutes, you could feel like that, because that's like training your mind. It's kind of like going to the gym. You have to train your muscles to look big and look nice, so you could pick up the ladies. But there you go. See, that's all you got to do. And that's the same thing. You're sitting there for 20 minutes and you're imprinting these images in your mind. It's like going out and working out in the gym. You're working out your mental muscles, so that you're starting to feel that. You're starting to feel that rich and abundant life. Yeah. And that was my journey. I mean, it was. I would definitely recommend people, doing it. Like, I would highly recommend, but immersing into it, right? Not just doing it for 20 minutes, but having it constantly around you, having that reminder, maybe writing it on a little note card. I kind of have my definite chief aim on this. So I read it every day. I wrote a little poem for myself that I read every day about what I want to manifest in my life in the next couple of years of my life. Yeah. Just having that reminder.
It's beautiful. Literally creating your reality in all of these different ways, metaphysically, physically, and energetically.
Yeah, I feel like the environment is something that we don't tend to change. We're working on this mental environment, but our physical environment may still look like your old self. There may be a lot of clutter, maybe a lot of negative energies in your space. I feel like the environment has such a powerful effect on us that we don't realize it. It's a very subtle effect. But starting to switch things around, having yourself a positive wall around you. Like, I have books on this shelf, but then I also have some little statues, and having some crystals on my shelf, putting some of my products around here. It's kind of like having this space where I feel positive, I feel energized to create, to give my best self, to manifest this best version of myself in this in our lives, and the workspace is something that we're around for 8 to 10 hours of our lives. Some of us work from home, so I've kind of created here. But having your workspace in a way that's empowering you, having reminders around you, maybe changing your computer desktop, the background to something that's an empowering message. Uh, there's so many subtle things that we can do with our space that'll have a powerful effect over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but given a year, 2 years, few years down the road, we'll see those effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the commitment. That's what I'm seeing, the commitment to creating something new.
Yeah.
And shifting your commitment, because we could be committed to believing a self-limiting story, and even for that it takes repetitions to make it so strong as it is. And then vice versa, shifting that commitment to something that is in more alignment with you, it takes that work. Continuing.
Yeah, that commitment you were talking about, right? There's this one word that I have that I want people to remove it from their vocabulary, and that is try. Because think about it, like, I'm gonna have this pen, right? I'm gonna tell you, Dell, try to take this pen from me, and you're gonna pull it and you're gonna take it. But I said to try to take it. I didn't say to take it. I said try to take it from me. You're just gonna hold on to it, and nothing's gonna happen. There's not gonna be any movement. So try doesn't do anything. It's that commitment. You got to be 100% committed. When you say, and this is our self-talk, we utilize try, or you know what, you'll say, I'm going to try that. Let me try. I tried to do this, but that's not commitment. That's not 100%. Going after it. That's just a loose commitment that you have an escape. And so I encourage people to remove try from their vocabulary and instead just say that you're going to do it, whatever that is.
Yeah, because try leaves that room for the excuse when it doesn't work the first try. I tried.
I tried. Let me move on. It didn't work. Okay. Yeah. So it's having that 100%, just being committed to it, and and when you modify your environment, that is being 100% committed to whatever goal you want to manifest for yourself.
Yeah. And how are you starting to create an impression for your son, who's only 3 months old now, but he's getting older and older? What are some of the ways that you will, impart some of this amazing wisdom that you've gained over the years to him?
That's a great question. I love it. So one of the things that I've been doing is every opportunity I get, I'll play some kind of chant, some kind of mantra while he's asleep, while he's awake. It's just playing in the background. So when I'm in my office, I have a crib that's in front of me. So whenever he's here, I'll play something off my laptop into a speaker, Bluetooth speaker, that will kind of just encapsulate this whole room with the chanting, with the mantra. And I'll just let that play for an hour, 2 hours while he's asleep. Just let him, soak into that energy, right? Because I think it's such a powerful tool that we have available while he's asleep. Just play something in the background that's a soothing music that helps him sleep. Not only that, it's programming him to feel those energy vibrations that are going on in the room. So that's a subtle way that I'm kind of just starting to do something with him. I want to get him into that meditative space. So I think this is a great way to do that, is having that same chanting going on, just on repeat for a few hours. That kind of gets into the trance. I want him to be in that kind of space of just being focused, instead of being distracted and energy going all over the place. I want him to be like focused on. Oh, that's a great question. So that's one subtle thing that I'm doing. Another thing is actually repeating affirmations to him that, I'll say his name. His name is Kavir. So I'll say, Kavir, you're strong, you're powerful. Just saying that a couple times throughout the day, kind of reminding him, even though he won't be able to understand it, but it's, in essence, it's I'm practicing and I'm implementing a new ritual for myself starting now by repeating that, so that every day I do that, and when he's 3, 4, 5, he'll realize, I'll still be doing that, and he'll now finally understand what I'm saying, and that effect will finally show.
Yeah. And how they say, like, in the first 6, 7 years, the baby is like a sponge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, man, oh man, with the next child, I mean, I'm helping my son to deconstruct the program he received in the first 7 years. But a baby at that young age, I'm like, man, I'm gonna try to teach that baby how to levitate or something.
Yeah.
You can fly. You're Superman. You can levitate. You can teleport.
Hey, hopefully one day you'll get there. Enough meditation, I think you'll get there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's stories of sages that done like miraculous stuff, and you're from over there, so I'm sure you might have seen some stuff live in person.
Yeah, I've seen sages out there who can get images of your future and kind of imprint some like programming in you that will help you manifest your future in that, in a positive direction, of course.
Yeah.
And there's a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi, which is by Paramahansa Yogananda, and he talks about a lot of that stuff too, all the sages that he's met throughout his time and his travels, and it's just some fascinating stuff that if you haven't read the book, pick it up. You will guarantee be fascinated and just mind blown with all the stuff that you can do just through meditation.
They say that's the only book that Steve Jobs had to like read.
Wow. That is powerful. Damn. So there's a question from the audience: is who are the people in your photograph on the top left of your bookshelf? So that photo right there is my graduation. So that's my advisor, who is, during the graduation ceremony, they do a hooding ceremony where they put like this gold satchel around you. So because I was similar height to him, I knelt down so he could kind of do it easily. So he put that on me, and then there's someone in the background who has a cool, like a funny face, like what's going on, like kind of shocked at what he's seeing. I think he's a chancellor or someone high up at Georgia Tech, which is where I graduated from. The photo next to it is me and my wife in Big Bear up in LA, and this is in the winter time, so there's a lot of snow around us at that time. Those are the two photos up there. And I've yet to put a photo of the little baby boy, so I'll bring that up soon.
Nice. And it's already the top of the hour.
Oh wow, time just flies by, huh? When you're having fun.
It really does. Do you mind repeating where people can find you, and if you have anything coming up or ways that people can interact with you, just to let them know how?
Yeah, so my website is drvarungandhi.com, and Instagram by the same name, Dr. Varun Gandhi. The one thing that I've been working on through this pandemic, this is an opportunity that the universe sent my way. And one of those sages from India, he was the one who kind of planted this seed for me. This is a project that we've been working on since May 2020. When the pandemic hit, we realized that there are a lot of people who lost their jobs, businesses shut down, they lost their only source of income. And thank you for putting that in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they lost their only source of income, and so they didn't have food to put on their, the tables. So what we did is we put together a group of volunteers who would put together grocery bags and supplies of stuff that we could gather, and we handed it out into the community. So we did that for 1 week, and we realized that there is a need. So we continued doing that, creating these grocery bags, and we, at the end of it, about 21 weeks later, we ended up feeding about 8,400 people, or we served 8,400 bags. Not only that, week 3, about week 2, week 3 into this project, we realized that there's more that we could be doing. People they don't necessarily have homes to cook these supplies in, A lot of people are out on the streets. Why not supply hot food? Find a way to prepare these hot meals and distribute it out into the community. So starting mid-May 2020, we started doing that, putting together hot meals, and continued that all the way through, even to this day. Every Sunday, we are preparing 1,500 to 2,000 meals. We've currently done we've crossed 210,000 meals thus far. And we're going to go all the way through 2022, end of 2020, and even into 2023, all the way through. And there's no stopping us at this point. We have created an amazing team of about 30 to 40 volunteers that come together every Sunday. We have a community kitchen where we cook out of, a team that packs all of the food into smaller containers. And then we've partnered up with about 10 to 12 different organizations. They come and pick up the meals from us, and they go out into the streets and they distribute it into different parts of LA and Orange County. So, like for example, Skid Row. If you go on a Sunday at 1:00, you'll see a lot of meals that are out there from us. We supply about 500 meals to Skid Row every Sunday, and this project has been going on. Now we're looking, if anyone is interested in kind of replicating what we've been doing in their city, in their local area. We would love to help you get started. We've created a whole template, a whole document that essentially outlines everything that we've done thus far. And if you want to and we have all of the recipes for our meals. And if anyone wants to create like even 100 meals, we have the recipe to do that, the exact measurements and everything that they need. So we want to start replicating this in different parts of the country. If anyone is interested in helping us, we would love to speak with you. Just reach out to me on Instagram, Dr. Varun Gandhi, or on my website, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. Yeah, it's been a fun project, just working and serving the community.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys, Dell and Kai, that you have brought me on here and had this interview, this fascinating conversation. You had some really great questions, and it brought out some answers that I didn't even know I was going to say it that way. So that's the best part. Is like, wow, I actually said that, huh? Thank you for bringing that up. So I really appreciate you guys. Another question is, how far are you from the University of Georgia? So I went to Georgia Tech, and University of Georgia is my big rival. Like football, that's the biggest rivalry every year. But I am currently in LA right now. So University of Georgia is, on the other side of the country. But I lived at Georgia Tech campus and in Kennesaw, which was about maybe an hour and a half from UGA in Athens. Yeah. See, that's such a random question that I would not have expected, but I'm glad they asked us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for being here and making this conversation what it is.
Yeah. And thank you for everyone who was here live with your comments, the questions you asked. This was a very magical conversation, and definitely recommended one to check the replay if you came in and came out, because there was some great information, like very valuable for you, but then also for someone else out there as well. We're all about spreading magic. So if there's one person that that could benefit from this conversation, don't be stingy with the magic. Share the magic.
Hey, can we do one last thing before we go?
Yeah.
Cheers. There we go. He knew it. Everybody that is able to
grab a water. Grab your water.
Yes, there we go. Cheers. Let's all take a sip together.
Yep. Cheers.
All right.
It's funny, the Jesus trick happened and everybody's water turned to alcohol. Oh, there's a couple more comments.
They do have a big ROTC program, yeah. I didn't realize that when I was back, going to Georgia Tech that they have a big one, but yeah. Thank you. Love and abundance.
Yeah. And as always,
Stay magical.
You've been listening to our Daily Magic Podcast with Kai and Dell. Please like, subscribe, and tune in next week for another magical episode. Visit www.ourdailymagic.com for more. Thank you for listening and have a magical